Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. My name is Preston Mears. My pronouns are he and his, and I'm today's worship associate. If this is your first or second time here at UUCSS, I hope you will stay after the service for some coffee and conversation. Dorothy Hale is our welcoming that's what I was told. You're it. Okay. Well, and she's here to answer questions. Now you know why you're here. So she's here she'll answer questions about our congregation and talk with you about how to get connected here. Anyway, newcomers, welcome. This spring we have explored who we are as a congregation, the gifts UUCSS has to offer, and the needs in our wider communities. This morning, we explore how UUCSS is being called to serve truth, love, and justice. Everyone is invited to stay after this service for a light lunch and the chance to share your input in the final mission and vision workshop. And speaking of needs, if we can get a couple of volunteers right now for the children who will be leaving halfway through the service. We got any volunteers who want to take on kids?
One.
All right.
That's good.
We're good? Okay. So, therefore, about halfway through the service, children will be invited to leave the sanctuary to do an activity downstairs. Babies and children of all ages are always welcome here in the sanctuary for worship, but we do have a nursery for babies and children ages 6 months to 5 years who would prefer to spend the worship hour there. Also, an important part of our worship each week is the sharing of joys and concerns. This morning, we will share them in writing, and Reverend Kristen will lift them up during the prayer. If you have a joy or sorrow to share today, please write it on one of the index cards that have been made available to you and are in the back of the church. And we'll collect them later in the service, about 10 minutes from now. But first, it's time to welcome one another. And let's begin by greeting those on Zoom. Those of you here in the sanctuary, please turn to the camera to your right and wave to those joining us virtually. Yay. And if you are joining us on Zoom, it's your turn. Please turn your camera on and wave so those here in the sanctuary can see you. Yeah. Some of you got your cameras on. Yay. All right.
All right, while those on Zoom greet each other in the chat, everybody here in the sanctuary is invited to greet our neighbors. First, before we do that, because we go straight from that into the opening hymn, I am going to tell you a little bit about our opening hymn. It is called Siyahamba. It is one of my favorites. It's super upbeat, and it begins with Zulu. So I am going to go over how to say the words with you. Siyahamba, say it again. Kuka Nyen, Kwenkos. There you go. That's the whole thing. Siyahamba, Kuka Nyen, Kwenkos. Siyahamba, o. I think we can handle that, right? We good? All right, let's greet our neighbors. When you hear the music, that is your cue to come back to your seat.
first. I don't know if it's up there, but it's okay. Yeah. Let's go to marching. So Zulu right here. Siyahamba. Siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos. Samba siyahamba. Siyahamba kukanyen Let's do marching. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching. We are marching in the light of God. We're singing. We are singing in the light of God. 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 We are singing, singing, we are singing. We are singing in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing. We are singing in the light of God.
All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all we aspire to create: a deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life we share. Come, let us worship together. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Kristen Schmidt. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the settled minister of this congregation, and it's now time to light our flaming chalice, symbol of our free faith. Please, won't you rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words on the screen. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring and guide us in the ways of truth. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the essential worth and dignity of every human being. Please won't you be seated? Join in singing our chalice lighting song. It is with joy and enthusiasm that we will welcome the new members to our congregation today. To join a congregation as a new member is a sacred undertaking. Some of us have journeyed through dark valleys to get here. Some of us have sailed smooth seas. Some of us never knew we needed this community until we stumbled across it. And some of us have been searching for this place all of our lives. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, and whatever you bring with you today, we welcome it all and we welcome you.
Joining a Unitarian Universalist community does not require agreement with a creed. However, to become a member does require something of us. It requires a commitment to the welfare of the whole community. It requires us to relinquish consumption and embrace cultivation. It requires us to align ourselves with covenant, a deep countercultural agreement about how we're going to be when we are together. Covenant is an ancient religious practice of promise-making, and it is the central sacred act of our free faith.
In 1976, the Unitarian minister and theologian James Luther Adams named 5 guiding principles for a free faith and related them with a Bible story that many of us have known from childhood. In the story, the people face a mighty giant named Goliath, and they send a boy named David to fight him. The boy David is too small to wear armor or carry a sword, so what does he carry? Does anyone remember? Stones and a slingshot, right? 5 small, smooth stones. Adams describes 5 small, smooth stones that we might carry as Unitarian Universalists to fight the giants of tyranny and oppression and make the world a better place.
The first stone represents continuous revelation. Our religious tradition is a living tradition because there is always new truths for us to learn.
The second stone represents mutuality. All relations between persons ought ideally to rest on mutual, free consent and not on coercion. We freely choose to enter into relationship in this congregation.
The third stone represents justice. Religious liberalism affirms the moral obligation to direct one's effort toward the establishment of a just and loving community. As Unitarian Universalists, we share the responsibility to speak truth to power and work to make the world more just.
The fourth stone represents agency. We deny the immaculate conception of virtue and affirm the necessity of social incarnation. In other words, good things don't just happen, people make them happen.
And finally, the fifth stone is for hope. Liberalism holds that the resources, divine and human, that are available for the achievement of meaningful change justify an attitude of ultimate optimism.
The roots of our living tradition have been developed over centuries, but new ideas and understandings are always being revealed. Some stones are smoothed and polished, while others are newly found and rough.
Today, we will give each of our new members their own 5 smooth stones, and in doing so, we affirm their place in our free faith, this living tradition from which we draw and to which we contribute as part of this congregation. Through it, we grow towards wholeness, and through us, through you, our tradition does too.
So I'd now like to invite forward those who have recently joined the congregation, as well as Donna B. Smith and any members of our membership committee who'd like to come forward and be part of the ceremony. Can you hand out the thank you? Okay. Donna B., if you want to come on up here with me, you can. It's okay. I have it right here.
We welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. We need your courage, your skill, your dedication, as you, being human, need a supporting community. May you find here wisdom, inspiration, accountability, and friendship for daily living. We would place our hands in yours and have you share our hopes and aspirations.
I now invite the whole congregation to join me in saying the words on the screen. We welcome you into membership. We welcome your commitment to our shared values and ideals. We encourage you to participate fully in the life of this church. We honor the paths of faith that brought you here and look forward to the journey we will share with you in the coming days and years. And I now invite the new members up here to join in saying the words on that screen.
We, like you, cherish the freedom of this liberal faith. We accept the responsibilities of membership and participation in this congregation. We anticipate the mutual support of a loving community. We look forward to sharing our gifts and helping UUCSS serve our values within and beyond these walls.
Welcome to UUCSS. May you find welcome and friendship with and among these good people. May you find in this community the comfort and challenge, the inspiration and support to help you continue to become the people you are called to be. And from this religious community, may you be nurtured and challenged to truly bless the world. As our new members make their ways back to their seats, I'd like to ask everyone to pass your joys and sorrows index cards toward the aisles while Reverend Caitlin collects them.
Could you read the new member's name?
Real quick, there's no slide for this, so we can see level before us.
Okay.
All right. Sydney Alexander.
Joe Dees. Susanna Paul.
Michael Paul.
Casey Kostick.
Welcome, everyone. You ready? Wait, I need to go higher than that. No, that's good. Call down a blessing, 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 call down. Love before us, love behind us, love within us and around us. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Thanks, Michael. It is so good to be together in this place of joy and sorrow, memory and new beginnings. It is so good to sing and celebrate together, and it's good also to make time for quiet and reflection, for noticing the gratitude and yearnings that arise within us. If you have suffered a deep loss in the last year, I invite you to stand or raise your hand while we hold silence together so that the congregation can hold you up in your grief. Let us now hold the quiet together, grateful for the presence of children, sonic evidence of new life all around us.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find no home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
Breath of life. As we breathe in, we give thanks for the many blessings of life, for the star around which we all travel, a tiny ecosystem on a small planet in the vastness of space. We give thanks for the oceans and rivers, the trees and mountains, the air and soil, and all of the plants and animal and other people with whom we are woven into the great web of life. And we give thanks for the joys and milestones, the celebrations and good news within and among us. This morning, we celebrate Jo's joy. She's grateful to have her family here to witness her join this church, and we're grateful that you're here as well. This morning, we lift up our joy with Casey. Last night, Damien and I had a dinner at Linda and Emily's house for the halfway to Thanksgiving auction event. I love that. It was great to get to know some other UUCSS members better, and we're grateful that we got to fill in after others who bid on the opportunity weren't able to attend. We give thanks. And as we breathe out, our thoughts and our hearts go to those among and beyond us with sorrows and fears, regrets and concerns. This morning, we lift up Lori Mears' concern. She's healing from sciatica and pain. Preston is dealing with sciatica pain. When the weight of the world overwhelms us, when the challenges and difficulties of life make us wonder about the future, when we worry about ourselves and others, when we feel small or weak, alone or afraid, let us lean into the power and strength of community, into the web of life that holds us, and into the love that never lets any of us go. Let us return always and everywhere to the breath of life, to the power and simplicity of each moment. Let us return to the earth that grounds us and the sky that lifts us up. Let us rest in all that is possible when we embrace the new, when we offer up our gifts in service, when we are willing to follow wherever truth, love, and justice are leading us. Blessed be. Amen. I now invite any children and our volunteers and staff who will accompany them out of the sanctuary to go do an activity for the rest of the service. Babies and children are always welcome to stay here or go to the nursery or go to this activity. And let's join in singing them out.
Our time together is sacred, and now it's time to part. The will is deep together. You're always right here in my
Sciatica. Our reading this morning was written by the poet, Afrofuturist, activist, and author Adrienne Marie Brown. She writes, "We are steeped in a society that has been trained to lie. Lie to ourselves, lie about conditions we are actually in, and lie about the changes we need to make in order to actually have different conditions produced. I feel like part of my work at the smallest scale is to bring deep authenticity and honesty into every relationship. And then at the larger scale, I believe we need to be vision-oriented. We need to not just be a no-telling people, what we don't want, when we're tired of what we're beyond. We need to be articulating ourselves in the form of a yes. What is it that we deeply believe in? What is it that we deeply long for and love? And how do we want to organize ourselves to practice that every day, right now? So that it becomes muscle memory, that it becomes what we do under pressure, so that it becomes what we do when we're scared. How do we practice our vision so the vision is what is produced under any pressure?
As the story goes, the Philistine army was gathered outside Soko, the fortified city that protected the western part of the land of Judah. The Philistines were orders of magnitude larger and better equipped than the Israelites. The Israelite army was brave, but everyone knew they didn't stand a chance against such power and military might. As the story goes, every morning for 40 days, Goliath would taunt the Israelites. They could spare their army a battle they would surely lose by sending out their best fighter to settle things one-on-one. Whichever side lost would become subjects of the winning side. The only problem was Goliath was gigantic, much bigger and stronger than any fighters the Israelites had, and he had cutting-edge weapons and armor. As the story goes, David, a young boy with no armor or fighting experience, left his family's sheep in the care of another shepherd. He didn't have armor or advanced weapons or skills on the battlefield, but he would have been very accurate with a slingshot, driving predators away from his family's sheep with stones. As the story goes, David overcame incredible odds not in arm-to-arm combat, but because he was able to align his skills and strengths with the reality of the moment. He knew his community would lose if he tried to beat the Philistines at brute strength and military might. But his skills were different. He was small, he was fast, he was a great shot, and he used those strengths to slay Goliath. David won the fight because he used his skills to adapt to the challenges at hand. He won the fight because he changed the fight to one that he could win. I generally don't think of my life or our shared ministry in terms of warfare. I'll just lay that on the table. But I love this Jewish story about an underdog using profound self-understanding and careful discernment to adapt, to overcome incredible odds and save his community. And I love the way that James Luther Adams used this story to teach about the central ideas of religious liberalism, how they help us to fight the giants of tyranny and oppression here and now. Today, we don't face an army or a literal giant like David and the Israelites, nor do we face the rise of Nazism and later McCarthyism like Adams and his contemporaries did. Today, we face rising fascism, oppression, and loss of freedoms. And our church faces some pretty sobering cultural and economic realities that threaten nearly all congregations' abilities to survive. We have known about giants like dwindling cultural relevance and fewer available volunteers for years. The pandemic just accelerated their approach. Is UUCSS ready to use our congregation's unique strengths and skills to help us adapt to a changing world? Are we ready to follow where truth, love, and justice are leading us so we can be transformed into what our community needs us to be? These are the questions we will lean into as we work to discern the vision we're being called to live into. American theologian Frederick Buechner is well known for a lot of things, but perhaps best for his writing on discernment. I'd like to share a passage from his book, Wishful Thinking, that I know I've shared here before, so bear with me. Here goes. There are all different kinds of voices calling you to all different kinds of work, and the problem is to find out which is the voice of God rather than society, say, or the superego, or self-interest. By and large, a good rule for finding out is this. The kind of work God usually calls you to is the kind of work, A, that you most need to do, and B, that the world most needs to have done. If you really get a kick out of your work, you've presumably met requirement A. But if your work is writing TV deodorant commercials, chances are you've missed requirement B. On the other hand, if your work is being a doctor in a leper colony, you have probably met requirement B, but if most of the time you're bored and depressed by it, the chances are you have not only bypassed A, but probably aren't helping your patients much either. Neither the hair shirt nor the soft berth will do. The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. The enormity of the world's suffering, the intractability of the world's problems, all of it can be so overwhelming. We can respond to this overwhelm in some different ways. We can pull away and ignore the problems that feel too big for us to change. I like to do that about once a year over the summer for a little bit of time. We can burn ourselves out saying yes to every single request for our time or attention. Or we can acknowledge that we're human, that it's impossible for us to do everything, So we must discern carefully those things which our skills, strengths, and gladness call us to do to serve need both within and around us. Our world is one where it's easy to fear that we are never doing enough, giving enough, producing enough, sacrificing enough, loving enough. But fear is a giant of its own, too, lurking just outside the walls of our well-being. And when we begin to serve not out of a sense of obligation, but out of our joy, our deep gladness, we begin to see just how weak that giant really is. Because our gifts are enough. Our skills are enough. Our generosity, our sacrifice, our love and commitment, it's enough. We are all enough. We aren't called into a future of endless work and joyless service. The future we're called into, whether it's tomorrow or 100 years from now, has to be one of mutual flourishing and abundance, justice and fulfillment. The truth is, it's not any of our jobs to be all things to all people, just like it's not this congregation's job to make everybody happy. It's not. The truth is, it's not any person's or congregation's job to try and solve every single problem, rise to every single challenge, slay every single giant. The truth is, we are a finite group of mortal people with limited time, talent, and treasure. And our job is to help people and our world grow into wholeness. The truth is, if we try to do everything, we will spread ourselves, our resources, and our impact so thin. But what if truth, love, and justice are calling us to discern just a handful of things that we as a community are situated and equipped and well-resourced to do really, really well? What would UUCSS look and feel and sound like if we focused on those things for the next 5 to 7 years? A wise Methodist preacher I know, our dogs play together at the dog park, she talks about the importance of saying a holy no to a lot of good things so we can say a holy yes to some really great things. This is not pessimism or defeatism. This is the honest and real work of visioning, of discerning not everything we could do, but what we are called to do with our particular skills and strengths, facing the giants of this time and this place. I am excited about the workshop after today's service. I'm excited to discover together with all of you the future that the Spirit is calling us to live into. But even as we reach for all that we are called to be and do as individuals and as a congregation, let us rest in our enoughness, too. Because we are not called to build perfect buildings or offer perfect programs or raise the most money ever, although buildings and programs and money are always good. We aren't called to constantly add more people to the membership rolls, although it is wonderful when new people join our church. What we and every UU congregation is called to do is to be accountable to our community and faithful to one another and our values. And this congregation has always had an abundance of compassion and commitment and love to do those things. Now, I don't know exactly what the future holds for UUCSS, except for this. I know I want to be a part of it. I know that this congregation has some amazing skills and strengths and a deep and abiding gladness for building community through mutual care, great music, and coming together for justice. I know that if we focus on those things, UUCSS will make a huge impact in our corner of the world. I also know such a future will require us to say a holy no to some things so we can say a holy yes to our priorities. As Adrienne Marie Brown says, we need to not just be a no, telling people what we don't want when we're tired of what we are beyond. We need to be articulating ourselves in the form of a yes. What is it we deeply believe in? What is it we deeply long for and love? And how do we want to organize ourselves to practice that every day, right now, so that it becomes the muscle memory, so that it becomes what we do under pressure, so that it becomes what we do when we're scared? How do we practice our vision so the vision is what is produced under any pressure? May it be so, and may we make it so. Amen.
As the Reverend Heather Christensen writes, Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. That vision is embodied in a few large congregations, numerous mid-sized congregations, and many, many small congregations. No matter its size, every congregation depends on each of its members, each one of you, by your commitment of time, energy, and resources. It helps make that grand vision real. Individually and together, we are building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. There are lots of ways to make a gift to UUCSS to help make the grand vision of our faith and the emerging vision of our congregation real. If you are here in person, you can place your offering in one of the offering plates as it's passed around in just a moment. And there are directions on the screen on how to give as well. The offering will now be gratefully given and received.
Got a secret side in plain sight.
And now I invite Donna B. Smith forward, President of the Board, to give our announcements.
Good morning. My name is Donna B. Smith. I am the president of your board, and my pronouns are she, her. Today, we have 4 announcements, but first, our church is not only the organization that puts together these services, we are a vibrant community of volunteers and staff, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and a part of the global UU denomination. So today we have 4 announcements. First, I hope everyone will stay after the service for our final visioning workshop. Whether you've been a member here a long time or have just begun to consider this congregation your own, you are invited to participate in helping discern the future of UUCSS and the future that we will live into for the next 5 to 7 years. Lunch and childcare will be provided. Second, from our religious education department, today is the last day to fill out the survey for Our Whole Lives. This is our fantastic human sexuality program for ages kindergarten and up, and we need to know which programs to offer next year. So whether you're an adult interested in taking the program for yourself, or a parent looking to get your child or youth involved, we need to hear from you. There are paper copies of the survey and a QR code in the back of the sanctuary on the RE table, and links in the weekly church email. Note that we are also hoping to get a few non-binary adults signed on to get trained as religious educators, and we're always happy to talk to adults of any gender who are interested in being part of the OWL, Our Whole Lives, or any other religious education program. Number 3, please mark your calendars for the annual congregational meeting on Sunday, June 4th. The annual meeting will begin very shortly after the service. You can participate in the annual meeting via Zoom, and ASL interpretation will be provided, and we'll have childcare for kids under the age of 5, and kids 6 and over are invited to join Reverend Caitlin for a kids annual meeting that will happen during the one for adults. That's going to be Appreciation Sunday, so we're going to have our coffee hour and special Appreciation Sunday treats after the annual meeting is over. So you have to stay for it if you want to get the treats. Last but not least, 4, save the date. June 11th is our flower communion service. It is also the date for our UUCSS Pollinator Festival. Our Green Sanctuary got a grant to do a pollinator garden, so this is pretty exciting. So plan to stay after the service for fun and educational activities for all ages. For kids, there will be a craft activity, face painting, and a pollinator photo booth. Do you want to be a flower or a bee, maybe? All set to the soundtrack of our pollinator-themed playlist. The garden group and Green Sanctuary members will be on hand with resources about native plants and about non-native invasive plant species in Montgomery County, and hands-on help for new gardeners about how to plant and care for native plants will be available. Snacks and beverages, too. Take the pollinator pledge and go home and plant a free native plant after that service. Thank you.
Won't you please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing? Let's rise and body your spirit. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. And while we're still risen, let's join in singing our closing hymn. Number 298, Wake Now My Senses. The words will be on the screen. to be seated. May our senses and our reason and our compassion and conscience and our vision truly be awakened. Our worship now has ended and our service begins.
Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go. He will surely pass. When the one that's left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. Listen. You will keep loving fear all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love